John Lennon did not write that tune. John North might have. Welcome. I'm John Becker. We're glad to have you on this Sunday morning. Juan, it's always a good start with that tune. He's my colleague at WBIR. With us this morning is a five-term representative in Knoxville in Knox County, Representative Jason Zachary. Good to have you on the Republican side of the aisle.
Good morning.
Susan Richardson Williams is on the panel today. She also is a Republican, owns her own PR firm and runs that. Don Bosch is a Democrat, runs his own law firm. Good to have both of you.
Good morning.
Representative Zachary, on the table right now, the governor has said we need a special session on looking at tightening gun laws. Is that a good idea, yes or no?
Yeah, I love how we're going strong out of the gate. So in terms of a special session, there looks like that may be toward the end of August, just from what we're hearing.
Do you think it's a good idea?
No, I don't. No, I don't think it's a good idea, and a couple of different reasons. One, when we have a comprehensive piece of legislation like what he is possibly going to put forward, based on what we saw toward the end of session, it literally takes us months to walk through that. I mean, we do our due diligence on. We're not like Congress. I mean, we actually read the bills, we walk through the bills, and it takes months to pass something comprehensive. And so, to expect us to pass anything, whether it's guns or anything that's like it could be a 10 to 15 page bill, it's just simply not reasonable.
Let me ask you this. This came out this week. It's from Vandy. I'm sure you've seen this poll, and it says, if our viewers haven't, 82% of people polled support Governor Bill Lee's executive order on gun background checks. 3/4 of voters support a red flag gun law. He's not calling it that, but that's essentially what the special session would be about. Contrary to current, and we'll get into the other ones after that, but as far as guns, it says the majority of Tennesseans want to see some change. You are in the minority in that, according to this poll. You've said red flag laws, no way, no how.
Sure. Well, and so I think it's important that poll, if I remember correctly, I looked at it earlier in the week. It's a small sample size. It's about 1,000 people. And I feel like most Vanderbilt polls, it doesn't reflect the constituency of Tennessee. Because if you simply look at the body that I represent, there's 99 members, 75 Republicans. And the majority of my constituents that are reaching out to me do not want red flag laws or orders of protection. They think there are steps that should be taken. We need to take additional steps related to mental health to ensure people that have significant mental health issues cannot possess guns. I think most reasonable people can agree on that.
Well, let me just stop you right there. Wouldn't a red flag law assist in getting those guns out of people's hands that have mental health issues, that they're already there?
A red flag law does not preserve due process, and it does not preserve the Second Amendment rights. It does not, based on what most of the red flag laws I have seen in states that have passed. Florida's another one that passed it after Parkland. Florida has had over 9,000 petitions filed, and only 1% of those people have
the governor says. We'll talk about
this
it
one does have due process, though, doesn't it?
Does.
I mean, the subject of the hearing is there.
Notice
he'd be there, or she would,
within days. And it's just the unfair rhetoric that comes out of this. And I don't want to monopolize this topic. I do have more to ask you about on that, but I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
On John's
so I just want to be clear. Time necessary to debate these issues aside, is there any kind of legislation you see that needs to be done further to address the fact that, well, for example, guns are the number one reason why we've got kids dying? I mean, aside from grown-ups, that statistic has emerged in the last couple of years. Does that bother you enough that you think there ought to be some kind of legislation to help maybe stop that?
Well, I think we have to address the core issue. So what is driving people to take these evil acts, to take these evil steps? And so we look at mental health is obviously a primary driver. There's nothing we can do to legislate the evil that drives people to do this. We can pass laws with significant consequences, but I think there are certainly steps that we need to take. One of those is strengthening our background check system. That's something we talked about. One of the things we talked about toward the end of session was anyone that makes a direct, credible threat, that is an imminent threat toward any kind of mass shooting or direct threat, there should be sections within code that are added to code that address that and give the opportunity for involuntary committal for some of those people. I mean, there's certainly steps that we need to take. The additional one is right now in code there's a gap with adolescents, those under 18. If they are adjudicated mentally defective right now, when they turn 18, it basically wipes the record clear and they're allowed to possess a gun. I actually had filed a bill to address that toward the end of session. And then there's also 3917, 1307 in TCA that says if you are adjudicated mentally defective, you cannot possess a weapon. That's on the books today. But there's a small loophole within that we need to fix. So there are certainly steps we need to take, but we got to address the core issue.
Critics would push back on the mental health question, not in that's a good idea, but saying, listen, Tennessee Republicans have left billions of dollars of federal money on the table in the last decade, and failing to take that has hurt the state of Tennessee in shoring up its mental health.
In relation to what?
Funding more resources for mental health. We've said no as a state to billions of dollars from the federal government.
Related to mental health specifically, when have we rejected mental health dollars?
Healthcare
to be
and
decided
mental
by
health.
the state.
Oh, you're talking about Medicaid expansion?
Yes.
So Medicaid expansion, I was on the Medicaid subcommittee, the TennCare subcommittee. Related specifically to that, we actually have seen the Medicaid rolls increase substantially from roughly 2012 into 2016. Then we had to restart the re-verification process. They increased by about 400,000. Then during COVID, they've also increased about 300,000. But what we've done is Tennessee, we've done it the Tennessee way. We implemented a block grant program that allowed us to, any money that we had, the shared savings that we had, we're able to keep those dollars and then can reinvest those back into TennCare. The first year we've done that, it saved Tennesseans $330 million, and we got to keep those resources, which allowed our Medicaid program, TennCare, to reinvest those dollars.
And yet mental health is getting worse by the year because of the failure of the legislature to fund it.
I completely disagree. Mental health is getting worse by the year because we have a culture that, wait, let me finish. Let me finish. We have a culture that has lost its way, Don. When you take a culture and you try to remove God out of every aspect of culture, you lock people down for over 3 years. You trample over the republic and their liberties.
That's the reason we have mass shootings?
Oh, it's a significant contributor right now, absolutely, because that leads to a substantial mental health crisis. You talk to our professionals at the state and bring them in, and over the last 3 years, locking people down for 3 years and then expecting there not to be a significant impact related to that is...
You're talking about COVID.
Sure, absolutely.
That's a reason you would argue that we had this surge in mental health problems?
Oh, without question.
And why people are going out and doing mass shootings. I want to make sure you're on the record on this.
I'm not saying that locking people down for 3 years has led to massive mass shootings.
And it was more like 18 months.
It has led to a substantial increase in mental health. The suicide rates have skyrocketed. I mean, that's what the state gives us. That's not my opinion. That's based on what the state, when they testify before us and give us that information.
That's where you're coming from. Like, I think you said the president's tyranny the other day in a tweet. You're kind of talking about COVID restrictions and all of that.
Sure, without question. Absolutely.
We've got to take a quick break on Inside Tennessee. Back, Susan, we'll let you lead off the second block with Representative Jason Zachary right after this.